Japanthropologist, the prologue. There is no moon tonight. This is good. Don Ignacio motioned for them all to form a circle, to take their positions with their blankets and the toilet rolls ready. The sleeping mats had already been laid down for them. It was decided that Mary would not drink the planta, that she would be the psychic guard and nurse, their inner journey's equivalent. She had the unique ability, through decades of training, to stabilize an energy field. It was a psychophysical one in this case. Her presence would mean that individuals within the enormously powerful field created by the ceremony could utilize the experience to the highest degree. She was a scientist of the soul's energies. There was one other important and very practical reason for her not drinking. It was to take people by the hand when they needed to relieve themselves, when the sudden desire to evacuate their bowels or their stomachs might overtake them. It happened really suddenly. Such a trusted ally in the darkest of nights was something that no money could buy, that no amount of searching would uncover in this jungle. Don Ignacio's role was clear. He would sit on a hard wooden chair and brandish a large banana leaf. Its swishing noise would constitute the instrument his songs would be sung with. They were songs that almost half a century of astral journeys had revealed to him, directly from the spirits themselves. They were songs that in a few hours would offer the only hope to some of the brave souls now gathered at his feet. The mood was somber and expectant. The night insects were trilling at full volume, and a slightly cool breeze was blowing through the Peruvian jungle. The clearing they were in was 10 minutes from Infierno, and had been specifically chosen location. Gabriel translated the maestro's words from Spanish to Japanese as he addressed them. These two crucifixes you see, placed on the stone at the center, were first used after a particularly terrible inner journey. We are using the dark planta tonight. The bark, when peeled from its body, reveals a color that of all the ayahuasca varieties is closest to black. This means that we will have journeys that will particularly force us to look at our own darkness. The darkness of the world is, after all, nothing but a reflection of what is within us. On my worst ever journey, which I now understand was my best ever journey, I was in peril of losing my soul. At that point, the Mother came to me. She sweetly rescued my desperate heart from ruin. Maria was the last one I expected, and so to honor her, the Queen of Heaven, I have always placed these two crucifixes at my mesa, my spirit altar. One for her, one for her son. Gabriel could feel the knot in his stomach tighten. Amanoyama responded to Gabriel's translation by bowing in respect to the crosses. Masami looked pale as she followed his lead. Nijitora silently smoked the last cigarette before drinking. Tobacco down here in the jungle was regarded as a sacred plant, and Don Ignacio was about to show them its power. He picked up the old Inca Cola bottle. The dark brown liquid had been poured into it, and he raised it to his mouth. Tobacco smoke from his plain cigarette into its open top. This was to bless it. No ceremony could ever be held without tobacco. Nijitora grinned sardonically when he was told this by Gabriel. At last I'm home. Now we know how important it is to smoke. Just as Don Ignacio had poured the first glass to be given to Gabriel, a raucous shriek erupted above them. It sounded clearly like the laughter of a demented madman as it rippled through the trees. It was, in fact, a bamboo rat. The macabre call seemed to them all to announce that the humans were about to enter the invisible world of the planta. It was to be a world so vast and terrible, so completely unknown, that this synchronicity at their entrance to it was perfectly appropriate. It was as if this giant rodent was shrieking, "God help you all, you poor fools." Gabriel could not help crossing himself. His Latin was heard clearly by all. In nome Patri et Filis et Spiritus Sancti. It is remarkable how, in moments of great intensity, the human heart reverts to its fundamentals. Somehow he knew that tonight would require every ounce of Christian faith that was left in his dried-up Jesuit soul. The Japanese sat in the seiza position, their backs erect. Mary was sitting cross-legged next to the shaman, Don Ignacio. She wore a blue woolen shawl. Gabriel raised the dirty tumbler to his lips. He had instructed his friends to honor tradition and for all to say cheers in Spanish. Salud! As the foul-tasting brew hit the back of his palate, he restrained the instant desire to vomit. He had seen this happen to so many people. It was as if the human body knew full well that this forbidden fruit was poisonous and should never be allowed to pass down the gullet. He raised the empty glass above his head in thanks and passed it to Amanoyama. The big Yakuza boss would need all his strength this night. With no hesitation, he downed the glass in one motion. He then bowed to the shaman and returned the glass for refilling. He then passed it to his friend. Nijitora swiftly and unceremoniously emptied the glass. Then, to the astonishment of all, he requested a refill. Gabriel looked on in horror as the wiry little Yakuza poured an equal amount again down his throat. The pale-looking Masami was last. Just as she tasted the first drop on her tongue, she vomited violently. She need not drink tonight. Tonight, it will only be the men. Gabriel translated Don Ignacio's instructions, and a very relief to the seated shaman. The insect trill seemed to all to be increasing in volume as they lay down on their mats and waited for the medicina to take effect.